Welcome back inside the Now Morning Show. This morning we're having a conversation about how we can reimagine HR in the Caribbean. And to do so, I want to welcome the founding chairman of the Caribbean Institute for Human Resource Management, Mr. Michael McAnuff-Jones, who joins us via Zoom, and the president of the Caribbean Institute for Human Resource Management, Cavell Joseph St. Omer. Good morning to you both and welcome to the Now Morning Show.
Good morning. Thank you for having us. And Michael is joining us from Jamaica.
Michael, good morning. Are you hearing me?
Morning, Rocos. Yes, morning, Cavell. Happy to be here.
Nice. We're happy to have you here. Now, I wanna jump to you first, Mr. Founding Chairman. Tell me a little bit about the Caribbean Institute for Human Resource Management, because I understand this is only 1 year old so far. And but tell me about some of the work that you guys have done and what you hope to do.
Right. So, Rocos, thanks for the question. The Caribbean Institute is a year old, but has been many years in gestation. Because for many years, Jamaica, Trinidad, and Barbados, and Cayman and Bermuda were all involved in conversations about establishing something similar to HERMAT and HERMAJ and HERMAB, these institutions in Jamaica, Barbados, and Trinidad. And at one time we thought, why don't we have something called HERMAC? Human Resource Management Association of the Caribbean. So we've had a conversation for more than 10 years, but it was always towards the intention of establishing a table where the national HR associations and country working groups in the Caribbean would be able to come together and around one table. And the purpose is to collaborate to ensure that we exchange best practices and that we work together to establish a Caribbean HR practice, if you will. And so our focus in the last year, since we formally established, although there have been working relationships for many, many years, has been to build out a collaboration table, focus on establishing a proper working foundation, and begin to think about some of the things strategically that are going to define us and enable us to add value to the space. So what we've been focusing on doing is building out strategic relationships, connecting with the Caribbean Employees Federation, UWI, Caribbean Congress of Labor, and other organizations with a view to establishing working partnerships, MOUs, and so on. And apart from that, we have been having conversations about, what are some of the things that would be imperative for us to begin to pay attention to. And, the subject of this morning's meeting, HR operating models in relationship to a reimagination of Caribbean HR, is one of those areas of focus. Of course, in the near future, we plan to talk also about the regulation of the HR profession in the region, by way of self-regulation to begin with. So that's our journey. Our mission as a table of tables, if you will, is to unite and empower regional HR bodies through innovative representation, advocacy, and capacity building. And we wouldn't be an organization if we didn't also have vision. And our vision is to be a recognized HR association on human capital matters with solid international representation, empowering strategic HR business leaders, and enabling best-in-class HR practices. So that's my mouthful this morning.
All right, Michael. Thank you so much for giving us that context and setting it up for us nicely. Cavell, before we move on to the event coming up this week, what were some of the challenges that made it take 10 years to be able to get here?
Well, if you understand Caribbean history and national pride, sometimes you find bringing together the region could be a bit challenging, especially when people get territorial about perhaps the role that their association plays in their respective territories and how a regional body will impact that. So as Michael said, and we have emphasized continuously when we meet collectively, is that we are not here to compete with individual associations, but really to focus on the agenda that Michael highlighted, which is getting regional work done. I mean, CARICOM is talking a lot about the free movement of people. how as an association now, as a body, how we could assist with the regular, with again, how that is enacted, how does that become a reality, how is it implemented? So that's one thing. He spoke about a few regional bodies that we've been communicating with. We had a really good meeting with, for example, CXC, right? And the need for micro-credentials and to establish micro-credentials. So we are looking at the big picture from a regional perspective, and therefore we are not competing with individual associations, and we had to make that abundantly clear. And I think sometimes timing is also right too. Fresh out of COVID, and again, perhaps the right mindset, the right people around the table too, that helps in terms of personalities and all of that. So far, it's been an interesting journey, and we're here today.
And is it that is the leaders of the various HR bodies across the Caribbean that come together for this one institute? Or
Yes.
is it that we send a representative from each body?
So it's either the leader or a representative, because naturally, I mean, people have their own personal commitments and may therefore ask someone from their respective association to serve. We have full membership, and then we have observers, because there are some territories who are still observing to see how things play out, you know, and then they will join later.
So how many members we have now?
Well, right now we have about 9 countries involved, and then you have the observers that are, you know, those who just, again, wanted to observe and see what's happening on the sidelines, as we would say.
All right. So up next, we have on Wednesday, the 30th of October, we're having this virtual conference. Tell me about it.
Well, again, we're reimagining the HR model, and it really came out, or it originated. Michael shared an article from McKinsey and Company, a latest report from them, talking about the new emerging trends in HR. There are 8 innovations that they identified in their report that is impacting how HR functions, and 5 emerging HR models. One that is not necessarily new, the Ulrich model, is not new, it's actually very traditional in terms of HR being a business partner and all of that. But then you have the agile model now, and we know because of COVID and the quick response time to implement change and to deal with change, and then coming out of that, what's happening with technology now as well too, HR is now required to be a little bit more responsive and agile, and not as slow as traditionally we were deemed to be, right? I would just say we were deemed to be a bit too slow and not responsive to the business issues.
Right.
So there's that. Then, of course, the experience. And we're hearing a lot more, especially as we consider all the generational differences in the workspace and people re-examining what their priorities are in life. And therefore, we now have to manage the experience you have with your organization. So there's the experience model, how we manage you from the time we advertise a job to the time you exit the organization. That in itself tells a story. Then, of course, machine-led model. Technology is at the forefront. And we're seeing chatbots and automation and a lot happening where HR business processes are concerned. Now, that's a good thing in one regard, because it allows us to focus on the things that matter, which is the people. So if you automate a lot of those operational things, HR could actually be on the ground, engaging the staff, interacting with people, hearing their issues and concerns, and bring the human element back into the function as well. Also be a little bit more strategic and supportive of the business, because that's what we're here to do as well, to support business decisions, strategic directions, things like that. So there is that. And of course, I'm on the 4th, right? The 5th model is lead, and I'm focusing on that at this session. Again, where we focus on empowering the leaders down the line. A lot of people tend to look to HR and not understand that you are an HR manager once you're leading people. So therefore, how we empower our business leaders and those who are responsible for leading departments and functions within the organization to get more involved in the people aspects and not send it up to HR.
So these 5 models that you talk about is what we'll be discussing at the conference?
Yes.
All right. So Michael, you still there with us?
Yes, sir.
All right. So walk me through some of the people who will be presenting these various models at the conference.
Okay. And so we have a Power Packs panel, if you will. We have the president of Hermat, as you know, Cavell, who is the president of the Human Resource Management Association of Trinidad and Tobago, and also Karim's president. We have the immediate past president of the Bahamas Human Resource Management Association, Sarah Comerbatch. We also have the president of Hermat, It's the Barbados Association, Nicholas Roberts. And we also have Dr. Cassida Jones Johnson, who is the president of Hermage, that's the Jamaican Association. And these are our very skilled professionals, many years of accumulated experience, a really top-notch panel. I don't know that we've ever had this kind of group assembled at one table, focusing on an HR matter from for as long as I've been in HR. And I think this is going to send a great message about Caribbean unity and also expose the community to the intellectual capital around HR practice that exists in the Caribbean.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely a great place to start because from what I'm hearing both of you are saying, we can get to eventually policy making that would affect the entire Caribbean, especially when it comes to HR and that kind of thing. Beautiful. Kaval, how can we be a part of this if people want to? Is it only for HR professionals or how does it work?
Well, we always say anyone with an interest in the development of people. All HR events are open to anyone who manage and lead teams and interested in people development. Now, we are on all social media platforms, and the link is there to register. In fact, we're up to 220 registrants when I checked this morning. Jamaica, of course, just by sheer size, leading the pack, right? Michael and his team doing a good job of course, promoting the event, followed behind by Trinidad and Tobago, of course, and Barbados. We have registrants from Turks and Caicos, Bahamas. So it's really a regional event, and we really want to have that kind of, as Michael has continuously emphasized, a focus on the regional practice. Now, we see a lot of international HR organizations like SHRM and NAMAN, a whole host of others, CIPD.
Those are just random letters you're throwing out at this point.
Yes, I know the acronyms in HR, right? But it's the Society for Human Resource Management based in the United States.
Okay.
Right, you have NAMA, which is a representation of the whole North American region, right? And a lot of the work and focus of those organizations tend to center on the North American experience. And for us, we know that culturally we differ. We know legally our system is very different as well, right? As much as people may want to bash the Caribbean and think we are developing, when it comes to the protections that employees have in this part of the world, it is very different, say, to the United States that still don't even have maternity protection. And I could go through a whole list, right?
Capitalist society.
Yes. So therefore, a lot of the research and what they're focused on tends to be North American and their experience and their culture. And for us within this region, we recognize that it's important for us to build our own body of work, to have our own case studies. I mean, there are companies doing exemplary work in the field of HR. And therefore, we want to give our regional practitioners a platform to share their experiences and to document such. So Michael shared a bit about the work that we intend to do via MOUs. We're in talk with UE out of Jamaica right now. And our intention is to sign an MOU with them so that we get the support of UE for when we have our first Caribbean regional conference. Just last week, the Africans got together in Ghana. And I mean, I had an opportunity to speak at that event. And it was such a blessing to see that the countries on the continent came together and HR professionals discuss HR issues from their perspective. It's the same thing, the same goal. I was about to say,
we have that same experience happening this week where the HR professionals from around the Caribbean get the opportunity to come together. And of course, we're very grateful that the Institute is doing this. And I wish you guys all the best. It's happening on Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. Jamaican time, which is 6:30 p.m. Trinidad and Tobago time. And you can be a part of it. Just head across to CAIHRM.org and you can be a part of it. Registration costs free.
There's no cost. It's free.
No cost?
Yes, no cost.
Well, look, trouble here. They make sure and sign up for that quickly, all right? Let me say thank you very much, Michael, for joining us via Zoom. And do enjoy the rest of your day, Mr. Founding Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. And I also want to say thank you very much, Kaval, for joining us this morning. And I wish you guys all the best on Wednesday. Register, be a part of it, and let's reimagine Caribbean HR together. Ladies and gentlemen, we take a quick break and we come back with more in our morning show. Stick around.